This video is now in session, and Pennsylvania will have a pretty interesting, well, not an interesting, it will have a pretty this a clear redistricting cycle. So, in this video, we're going to talk about Pennsylvania's redistricting, what they're doing, what kind of bills may be put up for redistricting related purposes in the Pennsylvania State Legislature, and as well as the overall consensus on what's going to happen with Pennsylvania's redistricting. So, Pennsylvania is bound to lose one congressional district between now and 2022. So, currently, they have 18 congressional districts, but in the future they'll have 17, which means one less, and that means one district will be axed. Now, the first question is, which district will be axed out of all of these? It's very likely that the 9th district will be, and this is a pretty Republican-friendly district. We can see here that Dan Masur won by 66.3%, and I'm definitely pronouncing his last name wrong, but nonetheless, his district will most likely be removed, and what will happen is that the 12th district will absorb half of that, and then the 6th district and the 4th district will absorb the other half of the 9th district. And from there, then the 16th district takes a little bit more of the 12th district, and the 13th district takes a little bit more of the 12th district. The 14th district then takes a little bit more of the 13th district, and then the 17th district takes a little bit more from from the 15th district, which then takes some amount from the 16th district. So it's a lot of minor changes, but there are mainly three districts, or not three, one, two, four districts that you need to know: the 8th district, the 4th district, the 6th district, and the 17th district. So these are all Democratic districts, and they are mostly swing districts, the 8th district and the 17th district especially. So for the 8th district, Matt Cartwright won the seat by 51.8% of the vote, and in the 17th district, Connor Lamb won by 51.1% of the vote, and the main block of his vote comes from the suburbs of Pittsburgh. His district does not actually touch Pittsburgh itself, and meanwhile, Matt Cartwright relies primarily on the Scranton area, the Scranton-Wilkes-Booth area in this region of Pennsylvania, and as well as more suburban and blue-collar workers of Pennsylvania. Now, these districts are most at risk because the 8th district is inheriting a little bit more rural areas of Pennsylvania, since it is absorbing a little bit of the 9th district in order to axe that district, and that is not good for Matt Cartwright, who really is not at a good position with only 51.8% of the vote in the 2020 election, and it's pretty likely that this district will get more Republican. So we could see a flip happening in this district, but for now, it's Democratic. In the 17th district, it's also inherited more rural areas of Pennsylvania, even though there's a minor change in that it now inherits this area. If you can see the new change in this map, it's still going to be less votes, or it's still going to be more votes for the Republican challenger, whoever it is. Now, in the 2020 election, it was Sean Parnell, and he lost by very slim margins, around 2% of the vote, nearly 2% of the vote. And that's not good for Connor Lamb, who obviously knows that his district will be very at risk, which is also why Connor Lamb is thinking of running for a statewide office in 2022. Connor Lamb is thinking of running either for the Pennsylvania Senate race or for the Pennsylvania governor race. And for either race that he runs, he's doing it not because he necessarily wants to. He's probably going to run for a statewide office. He most likely did not want to do it in 2022, but the thing is that with the courts drawing these maps, it's likely that his district will get more too competitive for him to for him to win in future elections, which is why he wants to move over to a statewide office where he doesn't have to be subjected to those same kinds of concerns. So we see then with these districts, now we have a 9-8 delegation. So 9 Democrats and 8 Republicans. But we could see in the future it becoming 10 Republicans and 8 Democrats if the Pennsylvania's 8th district and the Pennsylvania 17th district both flip for Republicans come 2022. But the major part of this is that this is not a gerrymandered map. This will most likely be drawn by the courts because of how split Pennsylvania is between the state legislatures and as well as the gubernatorial, the governor's mansion. The governor's mansion is currently held by Tom Wolf and he is a Democrat. Meanwhile, Republicans hold both of Pennsylvania's state legislatures, so the Pennsylvania Senate and as well as the Pennsylvania House. Now, there are calls for this to be stopped. There are calls for an independent redistricting to replace the current divide between Republicans and Democrats, and this is actually a somewhat bipartisan thing that's being done in Pennsylvania. There are 2 bills that are being put on the table in both the Senate and in the House that are meant to establish redistricting organizations that are independent from the state legislature. So for the Senate, you have SB 22 put on by State Senator Buscola, who is a Democrat from, I believe, the Allentown area, and then meanwhile you have House Bill 22, which is put on by Wendy Thomas, who is a Republican, and she is from Bucks County or around that region of Pennsylvania. So those bills, if put into action, will mean that Pennsylvania will no longer have courts necessarily redrawing the maps all the time. Instead, they'll have redistricting organizations that are meant to draw these maps as fairly as possible. And the fact that a Republican and a Democrat are working on the same things is not it's definitely not a bad thing, and it shows some kind of hope that independent redistricting could be possible in Pennsylvania. Because we've discussed this multiple times, but redistricting, or gerrymandering in general, is bad for democracy, and gerrymandering by both Republicans and Democrats leads to a more partisan America and leads to an America that is less likely to work with each other. And that's something that will most likely change in Pennsylvania, at least maybe, possibly, maybe not. We'll see. But the overall gist of redistricting in Pennsylvania is it's going to be pretty muted. It's not going to be like Arizona, where there's going to be a big fight, or Texas, or Florida, or New York, or even Oregon, where there are a lot of fights happening between Republicans and Democrats, because in this redistricting, there's a split government, which means that it's unlikely that any party will be able to redistrict this state, and it will then most likely be up to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court or any of the courts in Pennsylvania to then draw the maps. So that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.